watching American Horror Story. It's one of the few TV shows that is relatively good and deserves my viewership to watch and review. And the newest season, American Horror Story Cult, which is the 7th season in the series, just wrapped up the other day ago, and I just watched the season finale, and I really wanted to talk about it. So the thing I liked about this season, which describes the plot, is that there's, in the past seasons of American Horror Story, they've mostly focused on supernatural elements to make the show scary, things that don't make sense, otherworldly beings, devils, ghosts, and stuff like that. That's what they've used to make the show scary, but this season mostly focuses on things that are real life that could really be real scary things that actually happen, cults, burying people alive, taking people apart, freaking them out mentally. And one of the things I like that they play into the show is that they use politics that are a problem today between, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. I don't know why I said her name so weird, but it doesn't matter whose side you're on in the show. They take elements from both those politicians and they use them to freak people out. And it makes the show actually pretty scary because, like I said, they're real world things that people could use to actually, freak you out. And I personally believe that's something that makes this season stronger than some of the past seasons because, in my opinion, since Asylum, which was the 2nd season, so that was 5 years ago, I don't really think American Horror Story has been as good as it was the first 2 seasons because I just think those are great. Those 2 seasons were actually scary because it was something fresh and new and they knew what they were doing and they knew how to make something original. But then once, the show started to get a real fan following, it just became a little bit more generic with the jump scare. I wouldn't even say jump scares, just the horrible cliche scary stuff. And I mean, you could argue that season 3 is good. It's been a couple of years since I've seen it, so maybe if I go back and rewatch it, I'll maybe enjoy it more than I did at the time. But let's just say season 4 to season 6, they just weren't the best. I'd say the first half of season 6 was pretty good, but the thing that all those seasons did that made them so unappealing was that they took those elements of scary stuff that's not real and they amped it up to past 100, and it really made it unscary. But the thing that this season did that was really good was they didn't use that element of things that aren't real. They used things that are real and they kept it at a small minimum level, and I think that's what made this season more scary for me, was because, like I keep saying, it's a real world thing. They could actually happen. I mean, granted, I don't think a lot of them do, but you get what I'm saying. There are a couple things that I really think made this season falter for me, and I'm going to name a couple of them. And I'm not going to go into depth to all of them, just the ones that I really think needed to be talked about. And number one was just unnecessary elements. There are just some things they have in the show that's unnecessary, oh, you didn't need to have that. There's Lena Dunham has a role in it, and I get why they had it in the show, but they didn't need to have it. It kind of was just something they wanted to have a cool actress in it and just have some backstory. That was something that didn't need to be there. And there are other things, but those mostly fall in spoiler territory. A second thing was that some characters that are played by some famous actors, I just feel are get forgettable towards the end of the season. Billy Eichner's in the show, and I just feel towards the end of the show, you kind of forget about his character and what his point to the whole story was. I mean, he played a pretty big role in this season, and after a while, you just kind of forget about him, and you're just oh yeah, Billy Eichner was in that show. Frick, because I was literally sitting here, and I was all right, who's the cast? And I was oh, Billy Eichner, yeah, he was in that. And Billy Eichner's a pretty big name, but after a while, after a couple episodes go on, and they continue the story past, his character arc, you're just oh yeah, he was in that show. So I don't know, that's another thing that kind of bothered me, was that sometimes, you just forget about some characters and why they were in the show. And I think the other thing that bothered me a bit was that a couple of years ago, the guy, Ryan Murphy, who created the show, came out and said that all the seasons are connected. And there's one thing that really stood out to me in this season that connected to another season, and I'm glad that they had it, but they didn't really do anything except in the first episode to play upon that Easter egg. And I was just all right, it would have been better if you just didn't have it because there was no point to having it. It was kind of a waste. They bring a character back, and I was oh, that's cool that character is in this season because that character was in a previous season. But then after the show went on, the other 10 episodes of the season, I was oh, so we're not really going to see that character again. Okay. Just have him in it for 5 minutes, I guess. I mean, it was kind of a waste. Why have that character at all if you're not even going to use them? There was also one actress, and I won't say who, she's been on some previous seasons, and she was in literally one episode for this season, and she's a pretty famous actress, and then they just kill her off. and she was in it for maybe less than 10 minutes. And I was just like, all right, why did you bring that actress back if you weren't going to keep her around for a while? I don't know, this is the same thing with that character from the other season they brought over. It's like they brought this actress over who's been on the show before, that's had pretty big roles, and they just brought her over, and then they kill her off after like 10 minutes of being in one episode. And it's just like, all right, what's the point? It's cool that you got her to come back to the show, but why would you have her in it if you're not even going to use the actress? It's just kind of a waste. I mean, I guess some people are like, oh, just have the actress. She's been in the show before. But the way I view it is, if you're going to bring that actress back, give her a role. Don't just give her, side character number 3 and then just get rid of her that right away. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a shame to the actress too, because, are the show creators saying to her, oh, we don't need you anymore, but we'll have you on the show just because, we go back. I mean, they even did the same thing with Evan Peters in the past season 6, where they had him in like one episode and then they killed him off. And it was just like, all right, what's the point of having you in the show if you're just going to do that to me? I don't know. That was something that bothered me a lot. I know I really ripped this season a new one, but I did enjoy it. There is fun to be had with it. It is I wouldn't say it goes back to the original scariness that the first 2 seasons had, but hopefully things for the next 2 seasons that they have confirmed are looking up, because I really think this season can pull it around and go back to the classic American Horror Story where they focus on real scary things and not just musical dance numbers from David Bowie in the 1940s before a song even came out. But I did like this season, and I think there is a lot of fun that you will get out of it. I'm going to give American Horror Story Cult a 6 out of 10. I think you will enjoy this season if you have enjoyed the previous seasons. Thank you all so much for listening. If you've liked what you listened to on here and you want to listen to more, go like, comment, and subscribe. That would be really helpful and I would really appreciate it. The links to all of my social medias are listed down below in the description. Other than that, this has been A Talk in Depth.